Welcome to TIOMS. Time is on my side, making technology work in your business. This is our e-learning portal where we provide free of charge training videos, quizzes and associated example downloads. If you require further information or assistance with training, please contact us at TIOMS. Thank you. This series of training is about our project management methodology called DEEP. This particular course is an introduction to DEEP. TIOMS DEEP was created for people that need to run projects, but they're not full-time project managers. Generally, project systems like Microsoft Project are fantastic for people that use them all the time, but are rather complicated and difficult to use for people that only use them from time to time. Also, they don't provide the documentation and process and procedures that go with running a project. This is what we've developed in DEEP. So what is DEEP? It's a methodology for discipline, to keep everybody on the same page using the same systems all the time, to execute a project and get it right, to evolve your project, learn from mistakes, successes, things that really worked for you, things that didn't work so good. We learn through that and we evolve the process as we go along. And that process keeps the same methods, but the evolution allows us to get better all the time. Let's look at the workflow and the methods involved in the DEEP project management methodology. First of all, we have an idea. So we've got a blank piece of paper, we've got an idea, we don't know whether it's worthwhile as a project, we don't know what to do. So our first part of the process is a startup, and we have documentation templates to assist with the startup and decision-making process to get to the point where you've decided with your peers and management that this particular idea or project is worth moving forward with. Then we have a scope and a business case process. And quite often, if the idea you're working to or the project isn't too large, then a few page scope and business case can be developed in one. If it's a large project, then it's very worthwhile developing a scope, not too large again, 2 or 3 pages, but then a separate, larger, more comprehensive business case. We provide tools and a method for project planning and for project documentation, for meetings and so on. There's tools for cost and time tracking and for an overview summary of a particular project and where it is in its process. There's also a tool for gathering together a selection of projects that are in progress or being thought about and being able to report to management in a single page of what projects are going on and where they stand at a particular time. And finally, for each project or part of a project, we have a benefit realization process to ensure that the reasons for doing the project still stand up. Then a review and the learnings of the project, and we're back round again to the next idea. Part of our initial startup process, we like to use the system called 6 Hats. This was developed by Edward de Bono. This is a way of running a meeting. A meeting shouldn't be too long, should only be maybe 15 minutes. And we have a process based on the colours of each hat. So the idea is that you can only talk about one particular section at one time, and that is why you're wearing a hat of that colour. So we start with a blue hat and agree the process for the meeting and the agenda. Move on to the white hat and identify what information we have and what information we need. The green hat covers ideas, just ideas. What solutions can we come up with to a problem, or what new ideas have we got for this particular item? The yellow hat looks at the potential benefits from the ideas or solutions that we've discussed. And the black hat looks at the possible problems or issues to do with those ideas or solutions. And finally, the most powerful, the red hat, is all about your gut feeling. Do we actually think this will work? Well, really, if 9 out of 10 people think it won't, it probably isn't worth doing. So in 15 minutes, you've decided it probably isn't worth doing that project. So again, the really important thing is you can't, for instance, talk about the potential and benefits at the same time as the problems and the issues. We deal with one subject at a time. Then finally, at the end, back to the blue hat to make sure that notes have been taken and actions for people are documented and processed. We also like to use a system called Agile. Now, Agile was invented for actually program development for computers, but it's since been used in lots of other areas. The whole idea of Agile, as we look at a project or an idea or whatever it might be, and break it down as much as we can into individual deliverable parts that will each provide some sort of benefit and stand up on their own. That way, if we're building a fairly large project, we don't have to wait maybe years to see any benefit from it. If we can break it down into month by month or even less, smaller projects, each providing a benefit, then they can be online much quicker. Now you can think of this if you're building a freeway, for instance. You don't build a 100-kilometre freeway all in one go and then open that in one step. You build the first junction, you open that junction. You build the second junction, then you've got 2 junctions open and so on. So you're taking benefits from breaking the project down into its smaller parts. And we try and work our projects in a similar way. To allow you to work with the ideas and processes, we've developed a selection of templates. Now this is really useful because you'll never sat in front of a blank piece of paper saying, how do I deal with this point in the process? The templates are there. Nothing is written in stone. The templates are there to allow you to modify them, use every part of them in a large project, or break them down for smaller projects where you don't do certain parts that aren't relevant. So the sort of templates we have a meeting documentation template to make sure meetings are held properly, actions are recorded, and complete by times are recorded. And they can be used for tracking and future agendas for each meeting as you go on. The project startup document, 1-page document to describe what the project's about. What are you trying to achieve? What is it? Get a clear understanding of what the project is. The 6 hats meeting document, we've already spoke about 6 hats, but this is the document that will help you record what goes on in a 6 hats meeting. We have a project scope document that is already created with all the contents and the sections that covers everything that you might want to think of in a scope document. Now, many areas of that in many projects won't be required and they can just be deleted, but at least it makes you think of each item that may be required in your project. There's a planning and cross-tracking spreadsheet developed so you can easily see where you are with your project at any point in time. You can allocate costs to each individual task if you wish, and then you can record what costs have been incurred and what costs are remaining, and you can see how you're tracking towards your budget. There's also a tracking and risk register, a large one-page summary of the progress of your specific project. This looks at where you are, how you're tracking against your milestones, if there are any issues or if there are any risks, and how you intend to mitigate them. A one-stop shop tracking and risk register. And also there's a management summary. So if you've got a selection of projects, you may have 10 different projects running in your business. This helps you bring them all together in one page and see where they stand, who's running them, who owns them, where they stand against cost and schedule and issues and so on, and what's the current few comments that gives you an idea about how they're progressing. Thank you for trying our TIOMS e-learning. Please contact us if you require help with training in your organisation.